Hey, I am putting together the unit on working with clients and managing projects, and I wanted to talk briefly about how much flexibility there is and how different every process is going to look. So, the stuff I'm giving you breaks out like discovery, design, development, launch, Q&A, maintenance, basic kind of steps, right? Those are all completely different based on the project. If you're doing a $20,000 website for a water district or for a library, and you're dealing with a lot of stakeholders, you're going to have to adjust what you're doing to fit their needs, right? For a lot of you, I'm suspecting you're going to be doing smaller websites for small businesses. In that case, that scope and that process is heavily condensed because they don't have the money and they don't have all the stakeholders. It's you and that other person usually, or maybe you and that other person and one other helper of that business owner. So you're not going to need to go through formal discovery and be doing stakeholder meetings and paper prototyping and doing all these things that help the client define what it is they want and need because they already know and they don't have time or money budget to pay for you to do all this exploratory stuff. So usually the way I do it when I take on a small business website client, um, it's I usually say get an idea of what they want. So we do a meeting where we talk about what they need, we talk about what kind of branding they have, we talk about what kind of technology needs they have. So if they need a store, an online store, or if they need integration with an email newsletter. So they would need me to create an email newsletter account for them, create a template that matches their website, embed a sign up form onto their website that leads to a list. And then in that list, set up like an automated welcome message. And there's a lot going on there to process. And then for a lot of the small business projects I don't do custom themes because it just doesn't make a lot of sense for small business clients where they just need something functional that's up. Because also with the customizer and with builders, you can build basically anything without doing a custom theme. So generally for those kinds of clients, I'll get an idea of what they want. So like, do you want how big is your menu going to be? So I'll definitely sketch out the site map, like what pages are you going to have? What kind of things do you need on the homepage? What kind of things do you want to tell your audience about your business? So kind of get an idea of what's included in the project. You're going to have a gallery. Does that gallery have to link anywhere? We're going to integrate social media. And then I will research themes. I'll usually spin up a test site, install different themes, play with some content, and I'll choose 2 to 3 themes that I think will work for what they need. And I'll lay out, based on the content I have or dummy content, I'll lay out the site basically. So I don't do any design in Photoshop or any other design software. I design right in the browser using WordPress because that cuts your timeline down significantly and cuts the budget down, so we can just get there quickly. So I'll say, you have to know though that when you're presenting those theme options, so I'll do one and I will adjust the colors to be their colors. I'll put their logo in there. I'll put some placeholder content, and I'll generally build out a rough draft of the homepage, and then one other interior page, maybe a blog. So I'll do like 3 or 4 pages, right, and just get that kind of laid out, and then get the theme looking all nice. And then I'll do exactly what I had you do. I'll make a copy of it, switch the theme to a different theme, and it has to be different enough, right, so that they can see a difference because a lot of clients don't notice the little things. So I'll switch from one theme to another and it'll just be a clone. So I'll be sending them to the URLs, right? I'll say, here, go to hhogan.com/yourbusiness-1 and then yourbusiness-2. And then they can choose which theme they want. And I'll say, okay, which one do you like? Which one do you want to go with? Which one, what don't you like in there? And then I will maybe, once they approve that, maybe I'll build out all the pages and say, here are the pages we agreed to. Here's the pages I have content for. Here's the other pages you need to write content for. For clients, if you write their content for them, that's a much bigger kick in the butt to get them to finish it than just leaving a blank page. You might never hear from them. So if you draft out something, like go to their competitor, copy what they have and change it. And then they can look at it and be like, oh, this is not what I want to say at all. Or yeah, this is pretty good. Just don't copy directly. That's plagiarism. Um, So that's how I do it for small businesses. But a lot of that's because I have been doing this a long time, and I understand, I can translate client speak pretty easily. Um, if you are not confident with doing that, what I would recommend is choosing 3 themes and just showing them to the client, depending on how technologically savvy the client is. You can say, "Hey, we're going to use WordPress. Here are 3 different themes. Which one do you like?" And you can explain, like, if you like this, the way this one looks, but you want a different font, we can do that, or we can change the colors here and there. And you might even record a video, since you're probably not going to be meeting with them in person. So I do a lot of that, like, hey, and I'll do a screen share and show them this, that, and the other. So for you, that's probably going to be a better way to go. So you're not going to need to detail a whole lot of, here's the process. I'm going to show you all that, so that if you are going to work for an agency, that's probably how they're going to do it. So agencies are going to have budgets upwards of at least $6,000 up to $100,000. So I was working on websites that were between $20,000 to $80,000 that would take 6 to 9 to 12 months to make. And we're dealing with boards and groups of people who need to make decisions together. And so there's a lot more stages built in where you can get approval on iterations, so that you never get to a point where you've built the whole thing and someone in the organization, like a CEO, is like, "This isn't okay. We can't have this. You're saying the wrong thing." And then you've wasted all this time. So when you have more stakeholders, more approvals, period. Because you're going to need to talk with Brenda in accounting about what kind of pages she needs to have, and Joanne over at this service, and talk about her service area. And then James has to do the page on their service area. So you're going to be really, a lot of it's project management at that point. Probably for you guys coming into a studio, you're probably going to be on production. So you're probably going to be copying and pasting content, putting in imagery. Maybe you'll be designing some things, blog graphics and header graphics, and maybe designing page layouts. But you're probably going to be working with a team, and there's going to be a schedule and probably a Gantt chart of, like, this happens here and this happens here and these overlap and this can't happen until this is completed and approved. And you'll probably have a development site, and you'll have all kinds of other tools to help wrangle multiple stakeholders. And so I'm giving you kind of a taste of what the process looks like when you're working with larger projects and larger teams. But really, for our freelance basic jobs, for your neighbor or your friend that has a business, you're talking about maybe 10-page websites, and you really don't have the time or the budget or the patience, honestly, of your client to be going through a lot of these processes. So a lot of that will be, you'll have a meeting, you'll say, what pages do you need? And you write it out. You do want to get approval on every decision that you're going to make, though. So in that initial contract, so you have that first meeting with that person, decide if you like each other, if you want to work with each other, make sure you can do everything they need, and you're taking notes. And then when you deliver them that scope and that contract, that proposal, you're going to detail out where the page will have this many, the site will have this many pages. It will have pages, posts, and maybe events. I'll install the SEO plugin. I will integrate your social media. And you want to clarify what integrate social media means. Is that just a link in the footer? Is that a page where you pull in all their Facebook or Instagram content onto a page? So you need to clarify what that is, because that's going to take you different amounts of time, which is probably a good idea to start tracking your time now, so that you know how long these things take you. If that midterm assignment took you 4 hours, awesome. If it took you 10, you're going to want to keep track of how long all these things take you, because you can't charge your client all those hours while you're kind of learning. But hopefully the next time you do it, it's going to be faster, right? Let's see, I want to try to stick to just process stuff. So in conclusion, shorter jobs under $1,000, it's just scope and contract. I get it done. You have maybe 2 or 3 points of approval. Usually I'll do like the theme approval and the bare bones approval. So that's at maybe 25% complete. And when they approve that, you can charge them at that point for that amount of work. And then I'll build it out to about 85% complete. And then I'll have another review. And I'll usually I like to review in person, but sometimes I'll give it to them and ask some questions, or I'll walk through it and talk over it and say, hey, this does this. And did you notice this? And this is where you'll put in this information. Sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just send them the link, ask them what they think. And if they're like, yes, it's great, keep going, then you finish it off. And so you can charge at 25% complete, 85% complete, and then upon launch. And that's usually how the smaller jobs go. And that is WordPress agnostic, like, or system agnostic. It doesn't have to be WordPress. You could build it on any of the other Wix or not SiteGround, Squarespace or whatever. They're all kind of work the same way. Once you use one, the rest are pretty similar. So I hope that clarifies what I'm talking to you about as far as the process part of the adventure in website design for clients. Okay.